All right, howdy folks, Farmer Devin here. It is May 17th. Temperatures are, I don't know, probably in the 40s, maybe 50s, a little breezy from the northeast. We've got some snow blowing in tonight. It's going to start raining this afternoon and turn to snow overnight, and then we'll be a little cold tomorrow, and then it'll get warm again, and we'll be back into spring. Anyway, I've been bowed up basically for, I don't know, the whole time I've been home now. I'm a week into days off. And mostly what I've been doing is building this new chicken coop here. So, see behind me. This is a scaled down version of Joel Salatin's Millennium feathernet. And I'm gonna see if I can flip this camera around without interrupting the recording. Hey, look at that. All right, so don't mind all the trash. Scaled down version of the Millennium feathernet. I believe his is like, I don't know, something like 40 feet long by 20 something foot wide. This thing's roughly 14 by 14. It's a little over 14 and a half lengthwise, just the length of my panels there, and then it's roughly 14 and a half from that corner to that corner. So in theory, I should be able to, I'll have to use some hinges and some hardware to make it work, but I should be able to use some cattle panels, make some 16-foot wide gates that this thing can squeeze through. It's really only going to need a couple of gates because it's going to move to 4 or 5 different positions throughout its life and back again. In the Salatin model, first and foremost, it doesn't look quite so wonky. You can see my catwalk is a little messed up. What I did wrong is I didn't have the 2x4s, and I tried to build all this basically with free materials I had on hand. I did have to buy some stuff, but very minimal purchased materials for this. So that second strut in on the scissor frame there, or scissor truss, it's sitting a little lower than it should. I should have raised that up a touch when I built it, but it's high enough. It should work out all right. I might jack it up and trim the corner of that 2x4 just to stop it from dragging, but that's if I have issues getting it to move. Essentially, purchase materials, the 10-foot 2x4s that you see on the roof there. My hand just wants to mess that up. Those are 10-foot boards that were purchased. What else did I buy? Get in here a little closer. 2x or 1x1s, I mean. No, 2x2s. 2x2s here. Those were 8-foot. I believe they're 8-footers that I used. Yeah, 8-foot 2x4s. I just ripped those down. I purchased those for another project and used those up. Most of this stuff, all this slat material, this 1-inch stuff, was laying around the property. We've got piles and piles of it from the previous owners, and so I used that up as much as I could for the roof slats, as well as any of my cross bracing and my perches. Now I'm a little concerned that these are too small for the perches. I kind of think that if I get this thing loaded up with a bunch of hens, they'll probably overweigh these, and I'll end up having to replace a few of them and go to the 2x2s that you see over there. But we will cross that bridge when we come to it. Another difference that we have here between us and the Salatin style, besides the size, they used hen gear nesting boxes that they mounted along the catwalk here, basically off of a couple of rails that they just hung off of the roof. I did differently. One, again, because I'm being cheap and I didn't want to buy the nest boxes. I had these milk crates on hand, so I figured I might as well use them. And then the other thing was that we do have significant winds here compared to Virginia. So I'm kind of utilizing the nest boxes to create a little bit of a wind barrier. That will be facing mostly west, which is behind me at this point, because that's our predominant wind direction. And so that should give just a touch of a windbreak for hens that are hanging out in here at night and needing a break from the wind. Otherwise, we're basically going to use it the same. I did not use metal skids like they did on the Salatin model. I had these skids that I had built for a lamb shelter years ago that was blown over and damaged in the wind, so I repurposed that. I took those off, got rid of the wheels, which is what these holes were for, and I'm going to use those just to attach my wire for dragging. And then when we build our feeders for the ducks in the pasture pens, I use 4-inch PVC and I cut a slot out of it And that slot kind of gave me some pretty handy rails right here that I just tacked to the bottom of that board. And I haven't pulled it since I fully built it, but I did pull it around midway through the build and even tugged it by myself, and it actually pulls pretty easy, so I think that's going to work just fine. I think that's mostly all that I really need to talk about. I mean, other than things looking a little wonky, using some really thin wood to, you know, achieve some basic ends, I think it's going to hold together pretty well. I'm a little bit concerned that this is a little too far out from the 2x4 and might have some issues in high winds, but I'm gonna try it for now. We're just gonna see how it goes. I'll walk around a little bit just to show you before I get into the moving it and all that stuff. This is just how I put together the nesting box stuff. It may be temporary, so I wasn't really too concerned about making it a permanent fixture, but essentially I just used some 2x4s to make some angle braces. Everything else is that slat material. I used some screws, but 98% of this is all just brad nails. I feel like finished nails probably would have worked better for being a little stronger, but a brad nail is what I got, so a brad nail is what I used. Basically all these just sit in here and then are able to pull out, so I can collect eggs from the back, or I can go up on the catwalk or send the kid up on the catwalk to collect them from the front. I don't have a ladder or anything to get up on the catwalk, mostly because I'm planning to use this as a flying coop for the birds. They don't need a ladder, and then if we really need a ladder, I'll just bring a step stool over. Other than that, I reused some white sheet metal that I had. This was on the lamb shelter that was laying down there and got flipped over, and I was able to use that for most of it. That covered the whole bottom side of this, and then a little bit, you can see kind of the difference in color, the more pale yellow of the top there. And then I, stupidly miscounted how many I needed to finish this project off, because I had one full panel left on the other side here. And then I knew I needed, these other 4 to get the bottom done. And then for some reason in my head, I was thinking I only needed 2 panels, but I forgot about the other side of the top. So I ended up having to use, luckily this is like the same spacing on the ribs, and I had that laying around as well. So cleaning up some trash and repurposing it, obviously we'll have to paint that a little bit. Not too concerned about looks, really. And then there's a whole lot of corner pieces that we had laying around that were covered in horse shit and straw. And so I dug some of that out, and it's a little shorter than what I'd like for a roof cap, but it's functional, especially for a chicken coop. Doesn't have to be perfect in here. So other than that, did it myself, and as in not having a hand here to help me, and so my angles weren't perfect, and these are obviously a little messed up, but everything's functional. It keeps the water out, and will give the birds a good amount of shade for summer shelter, and that'll help me get these hens out of the hoop house so I can move these chicks out of the brooder behind me. And the ducks are showing up next week, and so I'll get all that done as soon as I can. I'm going to pull this down here today and then start in on getting fencing in, because I need some kind of fencing to contain these birds. And I might only get 1 paddock in, and have the birds just kind of outside in a small paddock for now, but it'll have to do until I can get paddocks really built and start rotating all these birds. Anyway, thanks for watching. Listen to me ramble on and on about all the things going on, and if you have any questions or anything about this build, or if you just want to tell me it looks like crap, feel free to comment in the comments. Thanks for watching.